Hello and welcome to another Illustrator 3D challenge. I'm Andrew Hochradel and I am your host and guide in 3 dimensions, maybe 4, maybe 5, who knows, for Illustrator today. Let's go ahead and hop into the program and show you how to map your art to a 3D object. Down in the description, you will find a link for a source file, and this is what that source file is. So it will give you everything that you need to work on the project today, which is nothing. We're going to be creating stuff from scratch today, very, very easy. And I'm going to show you a great technique of how to create a terrazzo pattern. If you haven't heard of terrazzo before, it's pretty cool. So we're going to work with terrazzo. So the first thing that we need to do when we are going to map our art onto an object is to make a 3D object. And today we're going to be using a tool that maybe you haven't found a use for or are not sure how to use it. And that is the 3D and Materials Revolve. So you've probably used the extrude, you've probably used the inflate. The revolve, maybe you haven't used before. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you kind of what revolve does first, and then we will get into creating something with it. So if I just create a circle here and click on revolve, what it's going to do, let's make that a little bit lighter so we can see it, is it's going to revolve it around a center point, right? Whatever the center point of that object is, it will basically swing it as if it was creating a bubble, right? If you put, let's say that the object is the rope, we dip it in the stuff solution, stick a post in the ground, swing it around, and we are creating a loop with that bubble, right? So if we change the offset, it's just gonna make that string longer, right? So now our loop is a little bit bigger, and we can change the orientation of this again by just grabbing that rotate freeform. And you can see there that it is revolving just that singular circle. And if I change to outlines mode, hitting Control Y, you'll see it's just a circle. That's all it is. And it is being revolved around a center point, right? So now that we understand what revolve does, let's go ahead and create something with it. So what I would like to do today is I would like to make some pottery, right? We're going to do the ghost moment. Just imagine my hand on the mouse with yours, right? Like that scene from Ghost when they start molding the clay pot. I don't know. I'm dating myself with the reference. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. What we need to do is grab the brush tool. So the brush tool is right over here. I use the hotkey B, super easy. And we're going to hit enter. We're not clicking or anything, just hitting enter. And we're going to turn that smoothing all the way up. So smooth all the way to the right. And we are going to hit OK. So from there, we are going to imagine the contour of what we want to be sculpting, right? Just one side of a pot. So what I'm going to do is I want the pot to definitely have flat top, and then maybe come down this way, right? Come in a little bit, maybe come out here, and then back in right there. So it looks pretty good to me. And what I can do is I can just make sure that these line up perfectly. Ooh, I got really close there. So it lines up, and we're just going to connect that and then select it and switch our stroke to the fill. So now we have a nice fill. I am going to go in and make sure that this is perfectly aligned by just creating a box there. And I'm using M as the hotkey to grab that rectangle tool. I'm just using it as a ruler. So I made that rectangle as a ruler. All right, so we have it deleted, and now we just have our singular shape. Great. Let's go ahead and hit revolve. It looks terrible. And the reason it looks terrible is because right here, it is rotating from the left edge, which means right here, it is rotating that way. So if you rotate this, all we're getting is this flat edge rotating around. We want to rotate it from the right edge. And from there, check it out. We get a pretty cool little pot. It's looking pretty good. The great thing is we can come in and do some edits here. Like I do want it to have a flat top. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the pen tool and hold down Alt or Option to just make this a flat line, right? So I'm going to pull it up here. And then we are going to try to make that a little more of a flat line. I'm actually going to put one more point in there. There we go. So you can kind of make it a flat line. Just click, click, and it will make it that flat line. It looks pretty good to me. And we are going to offset that just a little bit. And now you can see, right, we're starting to get a little bit of that opening for a pot. Now, if we didn't have this point in here, let me go ahead and just subtract that. You'll see that we do still get that opening, but we're going to need to offset it quite a bit to get a real kind of pot shape. And you know what? I'm not mad about it. It's kind of like, It's kind of squatty, but like, why not? So we're going to scale this down a little bit, and we have our 3D shape here, right? It looking like a pretty cool pot. Let's stretch it. And just like with clay, you can mold this, you can change it. It's going to revolve and continue in whatever shape it's revolving to on that contour. So it looks pretty good to me. We can change the perspective if we want to see maybe more of the front. All right, that's more of the bottom. We want to see more of the front. We can go here. We do want it from the top because I do want to see into that pot. So we're going to do this a couple more times, just real quick, and maybe we get a little bit funky with one of these, right? And it's pretty wonky. The fun thing right there. So the revolve is still on. Is as you do that, it's going to create some really interesting, fun shapes. You want to make sure that they're always closed, though. So always make sure that you close your shapes. And you probably want them filled. So if it's not closed, you'll be able to see the inside of it, which here, you know what, maybe is what we want. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to delete this, and we'll be able to see the inside of those shapes. So this one looks pretty good. All right, so let's put this down here. Let's scale it that way. I actually want this to be maybe a little bit smaller. There we go. All right, so we've got two looking good. Let's do one more, and this one's going to be more of like a sleek kind of vase shape. So we're going to do this one, and maybe it kind of curves up here, and then maybe has a very thin kind of in and out right there. Cool. So the cool thing about this is as you play around and as you create with the brush tool, it will apply that 3D if you have it selected to each piece. Now, I don't like what happened here, and so I can simply come in, and again, we can change this path, no problem. I'm going to delete this point right here. There we go. Now we have a more basic kind of look. If I went ahead and and filled this in to be a full shape, it would look much different, right? That looks a lot different. So if you want it to just be kind of an open pot, you can leave it on one side. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and scale all these down. And if you haven't played around with materials, we could use materials here. It'd be really easy to use materials here, actually. What we'd want to do is just come into materials, and we'd want to select one of these. So we could select any of these. Let me find a cool one. Let's say that we want this zinc spade material. All we have to do with that object selected is we click on it, and now we have this cool zinc kind of material. If we want it gold, boom. Click on gold, and it's going to be gold. That's great, but what if we want it to be our own thing, right? What if we don't want it to be any of these? Here's what we can do. We can actually make our own, and I'm going to show you how to make a pattern. So let's say that we want to do a terrazzo pattern on here. If you're not familiar with terrazzo, it's kind of like a speckle dust. So what we're going to do is, this is my favorite way to make a terrazzo pattern. We are just going to make a nice rectangle here using the rectangle tool, excuse me. And we're going to kind of pick out the colors that we want. I want like a nice little cream color. So I'm going to double click there and just do a nice little cream color. Let's do a gray. Let's do a gray. And from here, what we're going to do is we are just very simply going to grab the pen tool and click all over the place. All right, so check this out. What you do is just grab the pen tool, and we're literally just going to click across this a bunch of different ways. So the key here is to make sure that everything is overlapping, right? We're trying to create a bunch of different shapes and a bunch of different kind of lines. So we want to make sure there is a lot of overlap, a lot of intersection, and there is no right or wrong way to do this. There really is absolutely no right or wrong way. So let's go ahead and take this one over there, maybe one here. Let's go over that way. And that looks pretty good to me. So we've got this crazy, crazy shape. Let's go ahead and turn a stroke on there so you guys can see it. We've got this crazy shape. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of these, and then I'm going to use the Pathfinder to do something really, really interesting. So I'm going to hit divide. Now, when we hit divide, it is going to take that crazy shape that we made and punch it out of this rectangle. So you can see now these are all individual pieces. If I go and grab, you can see that the stroke has also created those pieces. So what I'm going to do, if we go into outline mode, it's easier to see. So it has created the stroke into everything is its own piece. We're going to grab the direct selection tool, which is A right here. And we're going to click and drag around this and just delete and then delete. So hit delete twice And we're going to delete all those extra anchor points that are hanging out outside of the bounds that we want them to. So now we have a nice clean, oop, we missed one. Bye, buddy. Now we've got a nice clean shape that is all kind of has all these cuts in it. Delete one there. We're going to use a tool now called Transform Each. And we're going to select all of this shape and go to Object, Transform, and Transform Each. What it's going to do is it's going to treat each of these pieces as if they are separate pieces. So as we scale these down, you'll see, oops, I believe it's grouped. You need to come in here, right click, ungroup. That was it. Yep. So make sure it's ungrouped. And then we go to Object, Transform, Transform Each. And we will scale it down and you'll see, look, it's transforming each of them instead of doing the entire thing, right? So that looks pretty good, but we don't want our terrazzo pattern to look uniform. We want it to look random. So I'm going to go ahead and put this to 100 and put this to 100. And I'm going to click right here on random. So random, we are going to set the minimum amount. So let's go ahead and say that 50% is the smallest that we want it to be. And check that out. It has randomly sorted the size of all of these different pieces. Pretty cool. If we turn random off, it's going to go to 50% on everything. So we want random. It's going to be random. So that looks pretty good to me. I probably want it smaller. Let's do 20% to make it really random. All right, shuffle it around one more time. And I'm going to kind of just click random until I find something that I feel like feels right. That feels right. So this feels right. And you can click that random on and off as many times as you want, and it will continue to be random and continue to randomize it. So we're going to hit OK here. And then I'm going to go in and apply an effect to this. I'm going to go to Effect. I'm going to go to Distort and Transform, do a little bit of roughen on the edges. Change that to smooth, maybe 0.5, so it's just a little bit, maybe 1. And then let's zoom in here. So look at that. We've got these really cool kind of patterns happening. If any of them get too close, you can come in and augment them individually. Up here, it looks like they're a little bit too close as well. And then what we can do is just grab a couple of these randomized using our selection tool. And we're going to start building a color palette. So I want to do maybe an orange here. Let's do an orange like that. And then probably a blue and a green. So I'm just grabbing some of these. Let's do a nice blue here. And then grab a few more and do some green. All right, that looks pretty good. We probably want a couple more up here that have that orange. All right, so now we've made this kind of terrazzo-y pattern that's kind of broken and a little bit wonky and different. What I can do is I can actually grab this entire shape. I'm going to group it, Control G, and then watch this. I can click and drag right into my panel. So right into the 3D panel, it just has add graphic. So you can click to add graphic and you can see it show up here in your options. Now, if we want to put this onto a shape, let's go ahead and just put it on this one. I like this one a lot. So we're going to click here and all we need to do is click on our graphic that we just drug in there. Check it out. Not only is it mapping that onto our surface, it's actually making it so that it is on whatever color is on there, right? So what's cool is we could come in here and then we could change it to that kind of gray color that we had and play around with that. We could maybe do a yellow if we want to see what that looks like. You can really play around with different variations. This purple is actually really fun. So I'm going to use that purple. I think that's good. And we can change the scale. So we can scale this down here and you'll see that it's scaling down on that shape. Let's change the rotation to 90 degrees. And then if you want to click and drag, we can click and drag this around. So let's leave that there. Let's scale it up just a little bit. And you can also scale using the surface right here. So using that surface, you can click and drag it around. You can scale it and put it in the perfect place. So that looks pretty good to me, but I want to put my logo on here. So I want to put my logo on here and I'm going to go ahead and open that real quick because I don't have it open. So give me just a second and let me open that up. So this is a great way to do mock-ups if you're trying to create your own kind of textures on things. You can grab great stock stuff. You can really create some cool stuff. I'll show you how to implement some really nice textures onto these as well. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my logo right here. Let's go ahead and grab that. And we are going to map it right here onto, let's map it on the same one. Why not? So I'm going to paste it here. I'm just going to make the whole thing white because we don't want it dark on that background. There we go. Delete these because they are in the way. Sorry, it's literally Pride Month and I'm deleting a rainbow. I'm so sorry. All right, so let's go ahead and map this onto our shape. I can just take my logo here and again, just drag it in, super easy. If you don't want to drag it, you can have it selected and just click on this plus and hit add single graphic and boom, it's right there. If you have multiple things you want to add, you can select both of them right here, just click and drag and then plus and add multiple graphics and it will add each of those as their own graphic. This is crazy powerful, I'm telling you. So we can come in here and we can have our object selected. I'm going to go ahead and add my logo by just clicking right there. And we're going to scale this down so it's just, maybe we're going to put it right here in this little space. So we can drag it over into this space and then again, use the options. If I zoom in here, just scale this down. We'll keep everything proportionate. There's not a way to stretch anything, so don't worry about that because it is going onto a 3D object. So we have it right there. Perfect. So this looks pretty good. I do want to change my lighting here. I'm going to do some top-down lighting. So I'm going to do a shadow and I'm going to change the shadow to below object. And there we go. It'll make it look like it's kind of top-down. I maybe do want a little more light happening. There we go. On the top. So let's do that. Let's do 20. Let's do 30 degrees, 25. All right, that looks pretty good. So that looks great. Height, oh yeah, let's do that. There we go. All right, so we've got nice here. I'm gonna go ahead and render this real quick so that you can see what it looks like with that texture on there. It's gonna look really good is the answer. So the shadow the shadow bounds weren't high enough quality on there. But check this out, you can see that it's actually giving you some of the texture on this material and it's really making that into, it looks like pottery, right? High quality render. So super easy to do with the revolve and we can map our art onto there and it looks like that art is just a part of it. Again, if I wanted to, I could come in here and change that stroke to white. It's going to re-render that and now our art is on there looking great, right? Looking good. So if I wanted to, I also think that I can come in here and let's say that we do want to do a different variation. I can come into my materials and click on these little dots and hit replace. And it is going to, all right, that's not going to happen. But what we can do, oh, actually, hold on. This might be it. Let's go ahead and replace. Didn't happen. All right. I'm going to try one more time. It's going to add a flower. We're a hot mess right now. All right, there's a flower on this one now. So we can play around turning off my ray tracing. We can play around with that. You can add your own graphics, but I want to show what happens when you want to add maybe a custom texture, right? We want the inside of this to just be maybe a knockout black. So we're going to change this one to black. Excuse me. So here's the trick. If you do a stroke, the stroke is going to be the outside, the fill is going to be the inside. So if you want to do two different colors, let's say that we wanted to do an alien version, right? So we have the outside is black like the alien, and then the inside is that slime green. You can play around like that. Let's say that we want this to be a Beetlejuice, right, version, which is on Broadway right now. I can't wait to go see it. But we can simply come in here and very easily and quickly, I'm just going to make some stripes. And this is just for fun. There are applications that you could use this, especially in mockups, but you're learning right now and learning is supposed to be fun. So have some fun with this. Don't take it too seriously. Don't try to do anything too crazy. That is so fun. So Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. So we've made a Beetlejuice mug. We're keeping that one. And then I want to show you what you can do using Adobe Stock real quick. So Adobe Stock is a great resource. If you've never used it, stock.adobe.com is the place to grab some stock. And we're going to grab a texture. So I'm just going here to stock.adobe.com and I'm going to type in /free because we are bougie on a budget. And here, birthday people, here we are going to type in, maybe we want like a psychedelic texture. I spelled it wrong, but it'll get it. Psychedelic texture. There we go. So this is really cool. I like this texture a lot. Ooh. So let's play around with these textures, I think. Let's see if we can spell this right. Let's try that. Psychedelic texture. Oh, there we go. Options. Cool. So let's say that we like this one. I love, ooh, hold on. There was a better one. Actually, this is fine. So I can license this to free. If I wanted to, I could save it to a library really quickly. We're just going to download it so that we can drag it in. So it's downloading. We can come back into Illustrator and I'm going to grab it and drag it onto my artboard. Where did it go? There it is. So we're just going to drag this onto the artboard. Now we have it in our artboard and I can simply click and drag it. Oops, I need to embed it. There we go. So let's embed and now let's click and drag it. It is in here. And with this center one, I just click and it will add that image. So it's probably going to look like, yeah, it's going to look like it's just kind of a image like rectangle that's been slapped on there. So we're going to need to come in and do some augmentations here. We're going to need to scale this way up. Just want to make sure that we are covering the entirety of this shape. There we go. All right. So that looks like it's covering pretty much the entirety of the shape. Let's go ahead and scale it just a little bit more. Ooh, we want to cover the inside too. So it is going to wrap around there. So let's just continue to scale and make sure that we are getting the scale. Let's make it just really big. Let's do that. All right. So the scale is really huge. And this is looking really cool. Let's go ahead and zoom out here. That's looking really cool. I just want to render this real quick just to see what that looks like. But it's applying that texture that we've found on Adobe Stock onto this 3D object. This is a fantastic tool. If you know how to use Photoshop and you want to make your own textures, you can very quickly and very easily make your own texture. Paint whatever you want, and then you can map it onto your 3D object, right? Super cool. Super easy, and you can make as much as you want. So even with this, right? If we wanted to put some text on here, right? So let's do it's showtime. It's showtime. Sorry, I said that wrong. It's showtime. All right, if we want to put that on here, we can simply click and drag it over, and now we have our text. We can click on our little Beetlejuice, and it will add that text for us. We can rotate it and scale it up. And you'll see that it's following the curvatures of that shape. All right, that looks pretty good. So it's following the curve perfectly for what we want it to look like. And from here, we could add in some lighting for all these. So let's go ahead and let's just change the lighting here to behind object. Ooh. Let's go ahead. Let's just set all of these to diffuse. So we're just going to do diffuse lighting on all of these. Maybe top left. Let's do diffuse. Oh, that render is on. I've made a mistake. All right. So diffuse there. There we go. And we'll do diffuse here. Easy. I lied. I want them all top left. It'll get us more of a look of the inside of the actual cup. So there we go. We've got the render there. Let's go ahead and turn on a shadow here and check that out. It is a full 3D object looking fantastic. in no time at all. So make sure that you post your work in Discord at the link down in the description. Keep playing around. There's no wrong answer when it comes to 3D. Try some new stuff and see what you can do. And I will see you again for another lesson, another creative challenge, another time. Bye.